to Rayo and Tech. I hope that everyone is doing well. I'm your host, Rayo. Um, Currently, I have a presentation for my CYB 690 course for my GCU Masters. Excited to pretty much share with you guys the information of what we got going on. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, sit back, enjoy. We got a lot of cool concepts to go over today. So, the main concept of this is for the security frameworks, and it's pretty much a presentation. So, we'll start with the first slide. So, within the cybersecurity development process, we see that there's two different types of methodologies. So, we have the agile and the waterfall methodology. Agile methodology is pretty much whenever the cycle of development works, it has more flexibility. So, in a sense, if you need to make changes or updates, what could happen is that these updates and changes can be made without the actual production being slowed down. Compared to waterfall is more traditional, where you have to finish your conditions of the first stages of what you need to do in order to transgress into the next stages. So it depends on the flexibility of the company, but this is pretty much how the development process works. Ensuring that the importance of zero trust architecture and also continuous monitoring. What that means is that zero trust architecture means that any devices which come in and out, which are either personal devices or corporate devices, they must go through all following stages of security. So you can't just have someone say that their device is trusted without making sure that it's actually tested and secured. So with continuous monitoring, pretty much it's nice to have that because it helps pretty much with surveillance and overall maintenance over time. I do apologize, you guys. I feel a little sick and under the weather, so if you kind of hear my voice a little raspy through the video, don't be surprised. But we're gonna power through it. Information and configuration management. So, what's really nice about this is that different tools and platforms can be used regards in the preference and configuration of the organization and the company. And so, based upon this, there's three types of services which we use. So we have platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and software as a service. Platform as a service is a platform used for running enterprise applications without managing the overall infrastructure. So pretty much different platforms could be used, like Microsoft Azure, for an example. Um, Infrastructure as a service platform used for providing web services over web access to networking tools such as servers, cloud services, and networks. So we see this with a lot of like cloud provider, like access service providers, where they pretty much give you like an infrastructure to work with. Lastly, different software, known as software as a service, are known to be fully operational software applications, but they're actually maintained by the provider. So let's say if you're using Microsoft Word, they would be responsible for taking care of any like updates within their actual system. All right. Next, here are the current practices for risk management. So right here, I was able to pull this risk matrix I created myself. Actually, I pulled it from my BCP, my business continuity plan. Pretty much, this just shows about like the different types of current practices which you can do in terms of having first different risks. So let's look at the risks here. First, we have ransomware attacks. This is very common within organizations where people try to lock out sensitive data in order for someone to pay like a ransom. Data breaches, data is always breached left and right. Phishing attacks, that's like a social engineering type of attack. Distributed denial of service, DDoS attack pretty much floods like a network. Um, and it also pretty much uses a whole bunch of like bots to pretty much try to take over like a network. Insider threats are known to be threats which could happen inside within the actual company without like proper like authorization controls. Privilege escalation is people who are trying to access administrative privilege without um with like little accounts. So pretty much they just want to like escalate through the different types of administrative access so they can grant more control. Man in the middle attacks, those are known as like attacks where people can intercept like traffic and then be able to like intercept like sensitive data. And from there, yeah. bad stuff happens. Social engineering attacks, as I mentioned earlier, zero-day exploits. Pretty much these are attacks which happen, which are not discovered. So once something gets patched, potentially there could be a zero-day exploit which isn't discovered. Lastly, malware on medical devices. So it's possible for malware on medical devices like pacemakers and other like CPAPs, those type of devices to have malware, and so it could possibly affect like the functionality of it. So these are different types of like risks which could occur. So if you look in terms of the management of it, so the way I broke it down was I put like the probability, the severity, the time given for the warning, the actual total duration, the priority of the risk. So depending on the risk, you can see what has more severity. So looking at the list here, I did put that privilege escalation has a lot of severity. So if someone was able to gain root access to a system, they could be able to change a lot of the actual administrative controls and have more access and exfiltrate data without being detected. And so that's why it has like a higher risk. So these are some current practices which are used for like risk management. All right, so I got another list here. So different privacy laws, policies, and legal regulations. It's a flowchart. So I pulled this up from my 630 CYB course. Again from my BCP. It talks about like five different types of diagrams, which can pretty much be used in terms of like the best practices for like the policies. So first we have the GDPR. Pretty much this is like the standard within the European Union, which is known to help like protect like the information of their citizens. Pretty much it focuses on like the CIA triad of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, just to make sure that their data is secure, and so they have their own personal laws there. HIPAA is known as the policy which is used to protect like the personal health information of like the U.S. and its citizens, and so pretty much this is like enforced for like healthcare organizations as well as like their workers, just to make sure that everyone's information is safe. So CCPA is known as the California Consumer Privacy Act. Pretty much is known to ensure that data is secure for like the citizens of the United States. So yeah, it's pretty much just like another way of ensuring that we are secure. So a lot of these, so yeah, the Protection of Personal Information Act and Protection of Personal Data Protection Act. Ugh, sorry. So some are in Singapore, some are in like South Africa. So those two don't really like abide to us, but the top three are GDPR, HIPAA, and CCPA, which can be applied to the United States. Pretty much, this is very important because following like these laws and regulations is very important to stay within compliance and also make sure that it provides a fair and opportunity for everyone. Okay, so as I was mentioning, here are like the best three security best practices which can be used and the frameworks. So first things first, data encryption. So ensuring that all data which is in rest and transit are encrypted across different secure channels. So let's say if we're trying to encrypt it over voice, we can use like VoIP encryption. If we want to encrypt it over, I believe, uh, over secure shell, that's also like another way. That's port 22, I believe. I can't remember, but all I know is that there's different ways of encrypting. So you can encrypt data while it's in transit. You can encrypt it through mail. There's a lot of ways of encryption, but encryption is very important. Just making sure that your data is secure across all different ways of either being still or being used or being processed. Number two is having secure access controls. So one of the great things about using multi-factor authentication is that it adds like an extra layer of security to just authenticating. So pretty much using that and implementing least privilege helps boost layers of security within the actual like organization of what you're trying to use that as well. Lastly, some of the best practices is having proper security awareness and also conducting training. So being able to create different types of trainings which can be used to help for individuals and also different organizations, it's very beneficial. So I can use it as like a guideline. But most importantly, these trainings can also be used as a way to like collect metrics. Where if you have like a potential phishing training which you create, which users don't understand that they're getting phished, you can use it as a way to help like boost security knowledge by enforcing that to make like a mandatory training. All right, so information decision flowchart. So pretty much this is my information decision flowchart. It comes from my BCP regarding all the stakeholders within my organization and also all the proper communication channels. So based upon an organization, depends on what the organization is. There's going to be like the key stakeholders, and there's also going to be like the main communication channels which they use. So for my organization, pretty much I have the CEO, the CFO, the CIO, the CASO, and the COO. And so what's nice about that is that these three hold a lot of weight in terms of the organization and being able to like work cooperatively. So some work with policy, some work with like the engineering team, some work with different elements, some work with security, some work with business. So having that chain of command and communication, especially when like crucial projects come in, is very beneficial. So I already moved on to the next slide. So in terms of critical compliance requirements, so I got a really great quote here from Shikanpur. So one of the best ways to follow is the standard of NIST and also the ISO standards. IEC 27001 standard specifies requirements for the design and implementation of an appropriate information security management system in an organization, ensuring that adequate and proportionate controls are selected to protect information assets to give confidence to interested parties. So pretty much, it's known as like the standard, which is used within organizations, and it also just lets you know what controls need to be created for ensuring that information is secure within an organization. So that pairs with NIST, which is known to actually be the standard within cybersecurity. So the five functions of that are, and let's say if a cybersecurity event occurs, using the NIST standards, you can identify what the attack is, protect from the attack, to detect the attack, respond to the attack, and also recover from the damages of the attack as well. All right, last slide before we got the reference slide. So the last slide is for Software Assurance Maturity Model, SAM, SAMM. SAM provides a tool, i.e., a questionnaire, for assessing an organization's current software security posture in five main areas, from governance to operations. Based on the outcome of the assessment, the organization can set an improvement target, create a roadmap, and track its progress through subsequent asset iterations. FUSI 2024. And so, pretty much, as I mentioned, the five areas are governance, design, implementation, verification, and operations. Think of this as almost like a security like audit with a mixture of like a template which is used to help check security for an organization. So it's a very great tool because one of the biggest things is that when you have softwares which are in development, which are currently out, you need to make sure that these are patched because if not, these can have potential vulnerabilities which can occur and possibly even mess with the actual main code. And you wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. So the best thing which you can do is just make sure that you take the right cybersecurity steps and the proper mitigation measures as well. And so, yeah, pretty much it's very important to have that. So just remember that whenever you're doing this, especially within an enterprise environment, one of the biggest things to worry about when you're developing and making sure you're like using interfaces, also APIs, just depends on whatever application you're using, making sure that security is consistent within the whole organization. All right. Lastly, my references. I mentioned Fusi on the first one and Shikapur on the second one. But I really appreciate you guys for hanging in there. Yeah, my throat's a little raspy, but I'm gonna probably take some vitamin C. Hopefully, I feel a little bit better. But I appreciate everyone. Yeah, I definitely am gonna be posting some more stuff. If you guys want like more content, like I don't know, do like a face reveal or I don't know, something else. Maybe some like reels for cybersecurity. That'd be really cool as well. But anyways, this is done. Pleasure. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you guys like Rayo and Tech out. Stay blessed, everyone. Peace out.